The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. Today I'm going to have Jack Nelson, who's the CEO of Skimmer, and Niki Acosta, who is their marketing director, and they're going to go over the State of the Pool Service 2024, and this is a comprehensive report in the state of the pool service industry, and I think you're going to really get a lot of good information out of this report. It'll help you build a strategy moving forward, and it's a good way to see what other pool service companies are doing, and we'll talk more about all the results of this report in this podcast. Pool Service Pro, open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro. So I'm joined today by Jack Nelson, who's the CEO of Skimmer, and Niki Acosta, who's the head of marketing. How are you doing today?
How's it going?
Hey, David.
Good. So let's just jump right into some of these questions that I have for you. So it's been a while since we've done a podcast, Jack. So what's been going on at Skimmer?
A lot. It's been a very busy couple of years. I'd say that the biggest thing we've done is build an all-star team. We've got almost 50 employees now, based all over the U.S., some in Canada, and we've spent a lot of time and energy trying to attract the right people to really build this platform. We've made big investments on the product side. So I think we're close to 20 engineers and product folks working on improving our technology every day. We've really built out a marketing team, starting to build a sales team, but the marketing team that's doing a lot more than just marketing. In fact, the State of the Nation that we'll talk about today, that's something they did. And so we've just spent a lot of time building the infrastructure to make sure we can continue to scale to support our growth and very ambitious growth goals.
Yeah, so if people aren't familiar with Skimmer, maybe just give an elevator talk on what Skimmer actually is.
Skimmer is a platform that is designed to help pool and spa pros build great businesses. And so when I say platform, it's a technology. So we have an app a mobile app that's great in the field for the techs. There's a desktop version for the owners or admins in the office. It bills. There's like a light sort of CRM where you can contact customers. The mobile app is what the techs in the field can use. It does routing optimization. There's a billing function that helps our customers get paid faster, save a lot of time. And then we have a bunch of support beyond that. So we've got a lot of learning materials online that teach our pros how to build and improve their businesses. Niki's been doing a bunch of great webinars that kind of talk about the business side of it. And so it's really just, it's probably best to think of it as a platform to help anyone who wants to grow a pool service business grow.
And you mentioned the state of the pool service industry. I think Niki was working behind the scenes on this report, also gathering a lot of the responses from the pool pros. And let's talk a little bit about why Skimmer decided to do this report, because I don't think anything this comprehensive has ever been done in the industry before. And I think this is something that is eye-opening too, some of the numbers and percentages that you got back on some of the questions here in the report. So what was the whole idea behind the State of the Pool Service Industry report?
I'd start by saying part of it was just a realization that, wow, we've got 25,000 techs using our app every week. And how do we do something with that data and transform it in such a way that it can be actionable and useful to the rest of the industry, to our existing customers as well as others outside of our customer base? And it was really just realizing that we have access to all this information. We have these customers that are willing to help us and help the industry. And so what if we spent some time trying to gather all of this information in one place and create a really digestible, readable report? This is something, like you said, we had not seen in the industry. And we thought, hey, there's a real opportunity to do something that can really lift the entire industry.
I think people are curious too, when you see a report like this, how was this report created? I mean, what were some of the things that you did to actually get these numbers and verify things and make sure that, it's an accurate report of the industry?
A lot of the questions came directly from our customers. In talking to our customers, they'll ask like, how are, other companies marketing? How are other companies, growing their businesses? How are they paying their techs? Where are they shopping? So a lot of what we included in the report just comes from feedback from our customers. A lot of it comes just from our data set. So we have over 500,000 pools under management year round. We see a peak during the summer to be closer to the 700,000 mark, but we have all this great and valuable data. I know there are a lot of conversations in trade groups where they're advised not to discuss pricing with each other, as not to violate any kind of rules or violate any kind of policies around price fixing. But we do know that we have great data, and our customers, if we make it anonymous, are willing to share that data with us. So we chose to make the survey anonymous. We chose to make sure that we were sending it not only to our customers, but working through our networks of partners to get it out to people who are not Skimmer customers. And we had great participation. I mean, we had participation from pretty much every single state. Obviously, the responses were heavier in the states where there are more pools and more pool service companies. But the goal was to get something out that was anonymous. And it wasn't a short survey. I think it was close to 50 questions. So it took a little bit of investment of time for people to sit down and give their honest opinions in the report. And as a result, we collected over 1,700 responses, which was more than we could have hoped for. And we got great data in the process of doing so.
I read through the report, and I'll ask you first what your top takeaways were, and I can maybe speak a little bit of what I got out of the report myself.
I think there were a few top takeaways, and one of the top takeaways was financial literacy is lacking in some cases in the industry. Knowing what your costs are, knowing how much you're spending on chemicals, knowing how much profit you're earning per pool or spa, just that kind of insight into knowing how you're doing financially. There have been a ton of folks who have told us that they're being hurt by price increases. And pricing is another big topic that we really honed in on as far as the survey goes, to get feedback on where pros' heads are at in terms of wanting to raise prices. And it was a significant number of people that plan on raising prices. I think 74% want to raise prices, and out of those, a good portion of them are looking at an increase of between 11 and 20% as an increase. So I think there is a little bit of room, a lot of room in some cases for pros to be able to raise prices that are consistent with what's competitive in their local marketplaces. But also, I think it's a really good time for pros to get dialed in on their finances. One good example is the way that people charge for pool service. And what we found was interesting. In half of the country, we have people that charge including chems, or people that charge a base rate plus chems. In most parts of the country, and more than half of the country, the people who are charging a base rate plus chems, that base rate is actually higher than those that are charging with chemicals included, which means there are a lot of people that are leaving money on the table. There's a lot of people who are being impacted by fluctuations in chemical costs. And I think there's a big opportunity there for folks to start looking at different ways of doing business. If you're not charging for chems right now, there's a big opportunity to capture revenue. I've heard from people in Phoenix that say, oh, you make your money in the winter just because of chemical costs. And you don't really have to do that. Bryce Sarine, who has worked with us for a long time and is a big customer of ours, had a good way of broaching the subject with his customers. And he tells people, hey, I service a lot of short-term rentals that have parties every weekend. It's not fair for me to charge you for the chemicals that they're going to use and have to spread that out. So I'm just going to charge you for the chemicals that you use. And that seems to be a good way to help consumers and customers understand that there is a benefit in some cases for them paying for what they're actually using when it comes to chemical usage.
I think that's a good takeaway from there. The way we kind of charge people is kind of weird sometimes if you think about it in the industry. There's no set standard. I think all-inclusive and charging for chemicals extra is a big debate among pool service pros. What's better? I always find, in my opinion, charging chemicals extra is better when you're landing the bid because your rate's going to be lower. You charge for the filter cleaning and for chemicals outside of the service rate. And that way, when you quote the service rate, it looks lower to the customer, and someone else coming in with an all-inclusive bid will be higher. And people always gravitate towards the lower price, even though it's not technically lower, as you explained. You're going to make more money charging for the chemicals separate. So I think that's a good takeaway. For me, I don't want to take up too much of your time with my input because you guys did the study and I think you put a lot of effort into it. But for me, I think the two things that I noticed was that 51% buy chemicals online now, which is interesting. The online sector is growing, and that we were supposed to have a recession last year apparently, but everyone made more money. 73% made more money last year, and then so it's definitely a growing industry. Do you feel like the industry is just growing in the right direction? I mean, up is the way it's going.
Yeah, I think kind of one of the themes that is present throughout the different sections of the report is there's really a strategic shift going on. And those people that are thinking a little bit differently about their businesses are the ones that are starting to win. And that's true. I mean, Nick, you talked about financial literacy. There's a huge opportunity in marketing. Most pool pros still aren't doing any paid marketing, and there's a huge opportunity. We just talked about pricing and thinking a little bit differently about that. But I absolutely think the industry is shifting, and technology is, of course, right in the middle of that all. And we see that at a daily basis at Skimmer, right? As all the different people joining us and wanting new features. And so I think those that are able to evolve and adapt quickly are absolutely going to continue to grow their business. And I like you, was pleased to see that while people are expecting rising costs in the industry, there's also an optimism that, hey, we're going to be able to continue to grow our businesses because we're going to pass along price increases and we're going to hire the right people and we're going to outmarket our competitors.
Analyzing the data, I mean, you were behind the scenes looking at all the numbers coming in. What would you say would be some of the biggest opportunities for the pool pros in 2024? You mentioned price increases in the survey showing that people expect to make more money regardless of that. But the opportunities in 2024, is the industry, are there more pools being built? Are the pool pros getting more accounts? You mentioned the marketing. So maybe touch on some of the opportunities coming up this year.
Yeah, there's no doubt when looking at pool construction permitting that the demand for new pool construction has waned since the pandemic. That obviously had a huge impact on the number of people that were at home, stuck at home, wanted to enjoy their backyards. And so I think we've seen that number kind of come down as far as new permits are involved. There's certainly people out there that are still building pools, just not at the same rate as they were during the pandemic. If I owned a pool service company, I would say marketing is one area where I think folks can really shine. Referrals and having a social media account kind of rounded the top kind of two areas of what people would consider marketing. But we all used Casey Graham. We had him on a webinar a couple of weeks ago. He owns a company called Yummy Pools out of Atlanta, and he has really optimized Google local service ads. So when someone goes to Google and they search for, pool service companies, it'll actually show them in their area, and it'll show a couple of Google verified companies for your area. He's really doubled down on this. He says he spends between $20 and $30 per lead. The trick for him is answering the phone. You have to answer the phone if you're going to spend towards any kind of marketing effort. Whether you're doing, Angie or if you're advertising through Nextdoor or Yelp. But he said he'll close about between 55 and 60% of those leads, which means at the end of the day, he's got literally positive ROI in month one. So the first full month that he is servicing a customer, he's not only making that money back, but then some. So with a little bit of know-how and a little bit of research and a little bit of time, that is possible. The second takeaway on that is that we see a lot of pros who are working in the business instead of on the business. And this was something else that, that we've certainly heard from other folks that we work with, and we heard it from Casey, is you can't focus on growing your business if you're the guy that's on speed dial or gal that's taking the calls, responding on the weekends, being that go-to person with every single customer. The idea of kind of replacing yourself in that regard, even if someone's not going to do it the exact same way you're going to do it or do it as well as you do it, if you can find someone that can do it 70% as good as you would, that is a good way to free up your time to be able to go and focus on growing the business. And that's something that I think these larger full service companies have figured out. We have lots of customers of ours who never log into Skimmer. They've got people that work for their company that do that for them. And those are the larger ones, right? They figured out how to replace themselves and staff themselves appropriately to be able to work on going and growing the business through marketing and other means.
Yeah, and to piggyback, I think one of the just themes from the report is that it's going to be a year of focusing on growing and optimizing the business, not necessarily growing the top line, but hey, how do we be smarter about the way we work? How do we train people to, like Niki said, to replace ourselves? How do we market better? How do we make sure we're getting the right customers, which might mean firing the existing customers, right? I mean, if those customers that are constantly calling, that complain every time you do a price increase, that are paying via check, all these things, like a lot of our customers are starting to say, hey, now it makes sense to focus on the right type of growth, not just growth at all costs.
Yeah, 33% of respondents said that in order to achieve their goals in 2024, they wanted to reduce customer count and increase profitability per pool.
Makes perfect sense. I mean, I always call it, getting rid of the low-hanging fruit. And I use the 1-for-1 rule. When you get a nice sweet account, all cement, you can jump over the pool because it's so small and you're getting a good rate. Then you drop that pool that you're spending half an hour skimming, with no pun intended, skimming all the leaves off the surface and getting it in shape. I think that's a good way. And I think a lot of people are catching on to the fact that let the new guy take on this pool, and all this streamline my business. And based on the data, if you really wanted to analyze this as a pool pro, based on the data, I think the advice that you could probably give them, and you could speak on this, a lot of people are increasing their prices. 74% are increasing their prices this year. And then Jack touched on the streamlining of the business. 43% said they're streamlining the business. So you think a pool pro can look at the results of the survey and the state of the pool industry, and kind of glean some ideas going forward in 2024? I mean, just looking at the percentages, they can probably get an idea of what they should be doing.
I think so. And that's one of the goals is to be able to give that sort of validation, right? If you're looking at this report saying, oh, safety in numbers, right? Like maybe I can raise prices. I won't be the only one that does this. Maybe I should focus on streamlining and to realize that that's what people are doing. And in some cases, if you're in that minority, you need to take a hard look and say, hey, maybe it is time to do things a little bit differently, because otherwise I'm going to get left behind.
I think the respondents too, I think 85% were the actual owners of the pool service company. That's an important point that we should mention, is that respondents are mostly the pros out there working. And I think that's the key to this survey too.
Well, that's one of our favorite things about this industry, is the willingness of everyone we talk to try to help out the entire industry. And we're so grateful that all of the 1,700 people took the time to fill out this survey, because that's exactly right, David. Like, these are owners that are busy, that say, hey, I want to contribute to this, to sort of the rising tide lifts all boats theory. And we see that every time we go to a trade show, every time we get a customer call, that these folks are really trying to improve the entire industry.
So can we expect future reports from Skimmer? Maybe not necessarily the state of the industry, but maybe specific reports on other aspects of the industry?
Yes, we are working on a service price index that will give guidance on pricing for certain areas. We've got a lot of follow-up pieces that came out of this report and looking at the data. Just yesterday, we were looking at respondents and pay. One of the only sort of identifying thing that we asked for from survey respondents was their zip code. So we were able to look at pay as it relates to service market areas all across the country. And what we found was that consistently in most major market areas, the pay is somewhere between $21 to $25 an hour. Doesn't mean that everyone's paying that way. A lot of people are paying, by the pool. But for people who are rolling that average up and calculating, owners say that they're paying on average $21 to $25, which is good. I mean, labor has been a really, really big concern for a lot of full service companies out there. And being able to attract talent, to get new employees in the door and then retain them is going to be, I think, an ongoing challenge for a lot of these companies.
And David, we've shared some of this information with our existing customer base in the past, but now that we've got the team that we do, we're able to spend the effort and the energy and make this available to the general public or the entire industry. And so I think you'll continue to see sort of a balancing act out of us as, hey, we'll put forth public facing stuff that's consumable for the entire industry. And then we'll also continue to make sure our customers have information they need to grow their businesses.
And I think that's important for the Skimmer customers to realize that you have a lot of ways of collecting data because you have a huge amount of people using the app at this point. And I think that benefits the whole industry as far as, maybe in the future internally for the Skimmer users, you can post the best way to market per area. Like I know specifically in my area, Los Angeles County, Google Ads is extremely successful, whereas Thumbtack is less successful because you have to be the first one on the scene. And, LA is not the greatest place to get somewhere fast. So, different areas and different ways of marketing would be crucial to the Pool Pro. But the report we're referring to, let's just let the listeners know where they can actually get a copy of it. And it's free. We should mention that also, right?
Correct. To get it free, go to getskimmer.com/state of pool service.
We as an industry really appreciate something like this that Skimmer's doing. When you first contacted me about the survey and that you were doing this, I was really impressed by Skimmer because I know that this is not something this is something that costs a lot of money and effort to put together. I mean, you put a lot of money out to make this survey and to put this report together, and it's a great contribution to the industry. So we're thankful that Skimmer put the effort in.
Well, thanks for the kind words. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback, so we're really glad we did it. And I'll emphasize this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? We're going to start creating a lot more content for the industry in many different forms that we continue to think will advance the entire industry.
We've already received feedback for next year. People are wanting to know, are other pros offering benefits to their employees, healthcare benefits or other kinds of benefits? If so, which ones, where are they? How does that affect pay? So we've already got a pretty good list of questions that we want to include next year based on the feedback that we've received. And hopefully this report just gets better and better. And also, hopefully we can identify longer term trends because we have this sort of baseline set of data that we can work off of in the future.
Yeah, it's great. I really appreciate the time you've taken today to go over the State of the Pool Service 2024 with me. And I think the listeners will appreciate hearing, all the information that you were talking about in this thing. And also seeing the report, of course. After they listen to this podcast, they're going to pull the report up and they can look at it themselves if they haven't looked at it yet. So I thank you for your time, Niki and Jack. And I thank you for what you're doing for the industry again.
Well, David, thank you. And it's very mutual. You continue to advance the industry, and we're grateful for that. So we appreciate being on here.
And if you're looking for other podcasts that I recorded, you can find those on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. And on the podcast icon, click on that. That'll take you to a drop-down menu of over 1,300 podcasts that I have available for you. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguidecoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a good rest of your week. God bless. Real quick, if you're not using pool service software, try Skimmer free for 30 days at getskimmer.com/poolguy. Again, that's getskimmer.com/poolguy. Skimmer, everything you need to run your pool service business all in one app. Pool Service Pro, open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro.